might say.
That's right. It is
Oh, well,
now
thank
being
you, Zane.
recorded. Yeah.
Did you get that message too?
Yes.
The audio message?
That it's now being
Oh,
recorded. Yeah.
yeah, interesting. I've been on like 20 different Zooms and I've never heard that.
If it's recorded already automatically, so some meetings started, and I used to have my meetings start automatically being recorded,
Hmm.
but they're recording so many things I didn't really want recorded.
Right.
And then I go, oh, so I'll start it. Whenever it starts, it lets everyone know audio that we're being.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably also good for California laws because you need to know if you're being recorded.
Yes. You are being recorded, Dejah.
Thank you.
So actually,
Sorry.
let's jump in and talk about what we talked about before. I'd love to hear the fear story you talked to me previously about.
Mhm.
You had me hooked, and I wanted to hear the ending already, so I know it's a good story. So the reason I created Breaking Up with Fear is, what are the fears I still have? How can I break up with them? I also love stories of other people that have broken through their fears, or even fears they're still dealing with, because some fears I have broken up with and then they come back again
Mhm.
for me. So I would love to hear the story you started the last time we spoke.
No problem, Chris. No pressure here either, right?
No pressure,
So
Dejah. You
I
can.
love, actually, I love how you describe it as breaking up with fear. So when you first introduced that notion to me of fear, the first fear story that came to my mind was when I was scuba diving. Do you dive?
I have scuba dove in the past, or scuba. Is that how I say that too?
Yeah, maybe. I've divin.
I've diving, I've diving, I've done it in the past in
Right.
pools, and also I've did it in Hawaii for
Okay,
a little
cool.
bit. But I'll tell
Yeah.
you one of my stories after this, and you can tell what I'm going to do in the future.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. So when I think of fear, this first story always comes to my mind. And I think it was because it was so emotive. It was such a emotional experience for me. So I was doing my first, I don't know if it was my first, but one of my first deep dives. So this was sub 90 feet. We were actually at 100 feet. This was for an advanced diving certification. And we got to 100 feet. Visibility was fine. It was like 20 feet, which is really good for Southern California, San Diego area. And we were on top of a wreck. And it was beautiful. And we get down to 100 feet. And suddenly, I just, looking back, I can say I panicked, which is the last thing you want to do at 100 feet underwater. You know, I have 3 atmospheres above me,
Yeah.
and I panicked. And I was hyperventilating. So I had this sensation that I wasn't getting air
Oh my
because I
gosh.
was breathing my air so much
Yeah.
that I, I felt like I wasn't breathing. And fortunately, because this was a certification training, I actually had a trainer with me. And I looked at her, and thank goodness she could tell that I was just panicked.
Yeah.
And there was no reason for it other than I thought I wasn't getting air, right? I started hyperventilating. And then everything started going through my mind about, oh my God, I'm 100 feet under the water. There's no way that I can make it to the top in one breath. My best I could do is 25 feet, you know, and I started going through why, what could happen, right? I started
Mm-hmm.
going through the scenario of how I was going to die right now,
Mm-hmm.
how I'm not going to survive this. And then as instantly as that thought came to me, that panic, the notion of becoming present. So the moment I realized that literally nothing was happening to me in this very moment, other than I was freaking out over what might happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it all happened in a matter of probably 10 seconds, maybe even less than that. Underwater, time just moves really slowly. So the moment I got panicked, I'm surrounded by bubbles. I must have consumed half my tank in that 10 seconds. And my trainer, she's like looking at me like, you're good. You know, you can't really speak to each other. So she starts doing this sign for breathe. And I go, I can't breathe. I can't breathe, you know? And she was like, breathe, breathe. And the moment I realized, oh, I could breathe. I do have air. And it was so instant, the relief. And I
Yeah.
felt so silly because I was so worried about what could happen. And so we ended up calling it. So I was like, I don't know, this might happen to me again. I might have this feeling again in 30 more seconds, right? Again, that idea of I'm
Yeah.
afraid that I'm going to be afraid.
Projecting into the future. Yes. Afraid of being afraid.
Precisely. So we went up and, I let her know what happened, and she goes, I totally understand. That's why we called the dive. And our surface interval was only our dive was only less than 15 minutes planned. So I do our surface interval and we're supposed to go back down again. And everyone's like, you don't have to go. You don't have to go. I decided to go. And it was like one of the best experiences ever. And I think what I did was I tried to break up with fear, right?
Hmm.
When I was sitting on the boat and starting to think through, okay, well, what was I really afraid of? I was afraid of what might happen to me, but I wasn't afraid of what was happening to me. And then I was also afraid of my inability to deal with what was going to happen to me.
Yeah.
So prepared you are for maybe the inevitable or maybe worst case scenario, the more prepared you are for that, what I find is that mitigates my fear.
It does for
So
me, for sure, too.
yeah. And I still dive and I still have a little bit of that anxiety every time I know that I'm going to be on a deep dive.
Hmm.
It's just like it's always there, but I still do it anyways. And I just remind myself to be present and to listen to my breath and to watch the fish or watch my bubbles or just try to be present. And so that's how I break up. I break up with fear pretty much every time I dive into the water.
I, I love that story. And it reminds me a couple for me that I'll share in just a minute with you. But the being present really gets rid of my fears too. Now, when I pop out of the presence and future
It's so
project,
easy.
yeah, so very easy because I
Yeah.
future project a lot.
Yeah.
But what else? What lessons? The one lesson I saw for me that I think everyone can do is self-awareness. I go,
Yeah.
just the question, why am I feeling this fear? And even
Hmm.
asking, and you might come up with some answers that you can just like go, oh, I'm making it bad in the future. So
Right.
what are the stuff you learned or would you share with other people from that story?
Yeah, that's actually a great point, Chris, about asking yourself. One of the things that I do is I actually try to be curious about the sensation or about the fear itself.
I love
So,
that.
so I am curious about, wow, that is a really uncomfortable feeling. What
Yep.
is that feeling all about? And um, I just get curious about it. And then suddenly I'm no longer focused on maybe whatever's causing the fear. Instead, I'm focused on a sensation, which is a lot easier, I think, to digest for your mind than something totally ambiguous like um, I'm going to die at 100 feet underwater. Like, how am I going to die at 100 feet underwater, right?
Right.
So yeah, so that was a great lesson for me, is to, and when I dive too. So if I do get a sensation, then I start to get curious about the sensation. I'm like, oh, where did that come from? Oh, do other people feel this way? And when they do, what do they do about it? And now suddenly I'm just being curious, and I've
Mhm.
forgotten about fear altogether. The other thing I do with those type of thoughts is I try to see them and then see them pass. So if you will, if you were lying down on the beach, and let's just keep with the water theme, if you were lying
Mhm.
down on the beach and you were looking up at the clouds, and down here in Florida, the clouds really move fast. So if you try to associate a fear with one of those clouds or one of those images, I just say, oh, that's my fear. Oh, look at it, it just passed. Like, you acknowledge the existence of that fear, that cloud, if you will, and then you just watch it go away.
I think
Um,
that's really huge actually for a lot of people and could benefit a lot of people's lives is not to deny it, push it
mhm,
away, because I think you're keeping it in your life. If you push it away, you're really just pushing it down.
right.
It says, oh, there it is. I'm actually afraid of that in this moment. And
Yeah.
not making yourself bad for that.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, people need to be kinder to themselves, right? Be more understanding. It's one thing to say, oh, you shouldn't be afraid of that. Well, what if you change that narrative to, Oh, you're totally afraid of that. Okay.
Yes.
Moving on. We're
I,
totally afraid of that.
I am. And well, that's part of the either macho or whatever, or not looking foolish. I can't show you
Yeah.
that I'm afraid of something that pretty much everyone's afraid of.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But it's, you reminded me of actually three little stories. The one on breathing. So I'll give you now that my two of the breathing ones. I was in great shape in my 20s, mountain biking in California. But then I took a road trip with a girlfriend at the time to Colorado. And I think we started at like 10,000 feet or something like that. And we were
Mhm.
going up like crazy. And at the top of this, and I don't know what it was, I don't know what the elevation was, but it was high. It's like
Oh,
no
yeah.
coming in. The good thing I could finally tell myself is, look, those people are alive and they're not suffering like me. So
That's right.
the air is going to come back.
Yep.
And though it did feel that great when we got back down to,
Yeah.
10,000 feet, but
Mhm.
wow, that was a difference. And then the
Mhm.
other story you reminded me of, so a buddy of mine was playing in a diving pool. So I think it was either 10 feet or 12 feet or something like that, this pool where you can dive. And he threw heavy rings into the pool that you would
Mhm.
dive down to the bottom and get. And I actually
Oh,
loved,
fun.
yeah, fun. I loved diving. I loved especially snorkeling. If I was a fisherman, I'd rather be a spear fisherman than anything. And I
Uh-huh.
love the water. But most of my life I had a habit, if I turned my ears to the side, water would go in it. It felt like, at least. And then
Ah.
is then flying on a plane afterwards, I get this pressure. But this day, I grabbed the first ring at the bottom of the pool. I turned to look where the other ring is, and all of a sudden, it felt like water just poured into my head. It was weird.
Mhm.
And I felt totally disorientated, but I had to go still get the other, even though I felt that disorientated, I had to swim to get the other ring, grab the other ring. I didn't even know what was up or down. I couldn't tell up or down in that moment.
Yeah.
I still got the final ring.
Wow.
And part of me is going, why are you getting the ring? There's this need. There was almost a fear of failing getting 3 rings versus fear of dying in that moment.
Mhm.
And then I go, I don't know where the top of the water is, because I would start swimming
Oh my
sideways.
gosh.
And then I finally said, gee, just let go. And I let go,
Oh, and you float?
and I floated up to the top. I got my head above the water, and then
Holy
trying to
moly.
get to the side,
Yeah.
it's like I couldn't tell which way to go to get to the side. And it took me to go 10 feet. It probably took me 2 minutes to get to the side of the pool.
Oh, how disorienting.
When I got out, I had total, even on the side of the pool, it's like I had no balance. I had no thing. I shook water out of my ear, but that feeling lasted for me for over a month.
Oh my gosh.
Not as
How
not as
incredible
bad
the
when I got out.
body, the self-preservation of the body though. You didn't pass out, you didn't drown. I mean, you still got to the edge of the pool. It's
Yeah.
pretty remarkable. We're lucky. We're very
So
lucky with these things.
so I probably will not go down to 100 feet.
No, you can still do that. You can still do that.
I don't have as much motivation for sure, but that was one of them. And the other one was I was working at a conference, and they were serving meals with plastic forks and knives, and
Mhm.
they were serving Ruth Chris steak.
No, fancy.
Yeah, but big chunks of it.
Uh-oh.
And
I have a feeling I know where this is going.
I wasn't paying attention. I stabbed one of them, put it in my mouth, chewed a
Mrs.
couple times,
Doubtfire moment.
chewed and swallowed. It's
Oh.
stuck.
Hmm.
I thought I could die because I ate too big a chunk of Ruth Chris steak.
Right.
I started Heimliching myself.
Uh-huh. You got it out.
Eventually came out enough. I go, oh my gosh.
And so how do you feel every time you have Ruth Chris steak now?
I'm not scared of it. I go, it actually brings me, so thank you for that question too. It brings me, I've had moments of practice of presence when eating. And when I'm present and eating, the food tastes better.
Oh yeah.
I'm calmer,
Hmm.
and I cut it up, in smaller pieces and I chew it thoroughly and enjoy it.
That's so funny that you say that, because my very first mindfulness experience that I ever had, it was a guided mindfulness, and it was, I, if you ask me, we spent an hour, but I'm pretty sure it was 15 minutes on being mindful of eating a raisin. But I could have told you it was an hour, because time just stood still. And, you know, to your point about when you are very present or mindful about what you're eating, the food does taste better. The experience is a lot more memorable. And then you walk away from it feeling maybe refreshed, you know?
I did it with a peanut even. And it was the best tasting.
The raisin's chewy.
I know. It was the best tasting peanut though I've had in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And
you remember eating that peanut. Isn't that just remarkable?
I do, you know, and then I tell myself, slow down, Chris, pay attention. And,
right.
and I had a past girlfriend that loved chocolate, and she would hand me one chocolate and she says, now eat it slow. And it'd be gone. I'd want another one, or I said, just give me 3. And she would be enjoying that one.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I'd be like you. I might ask for 6. Don't even ask me how many chocolates I've already eaten today.
Now you've got me curious though. I want to know.
I lost count after 8. So
okay. That's pretty impressive.
It's significant.
Is there any other fear stories you would like to share in your life?
It's a great question. Actually, you know what's interesting? I think I've had all different types of relationship with fear throughout my life. And a fear that I've acquired in my adulthood that I never had before was, or is, flying. Mm. So I've traveled a lot. As soon as I turned 13, I was kind of allowed to travel by myself. I mean, I was flying everywhere. I went to Europe when I was 16 years old, and I just loved flying and traveling. And then I'm not sure if it was a light switch or a gradual change, but I can tell you that as an adult, I have a fear of flying. Mm. And I had a discussion with a pilot once, and she mentioned that it might be, actually it was really interesting. She said, do you have a husband and kids? Mm. I said, no, I mean, at that time, I have a boyfriend, and I have a dog and 2 cats. And she goes, well, you have something to lose now. I thought, what a fascinating comment, that it wasn't so much my fear of flying necessarily, but my fear of loss, right? So most of us have fear of loss. So if something happened to me on that flight, I would lose my family. I would lose the people I love. I just thought, what an interesting thing. So it's completely managed. I'll still get on a plane, and I don't have like the diving, hyperventilating panic attack, 10-second moment or anything like that. But I always have that little bit of, that little voice of fear that I have to break up with almost every time I go on a flight.
Wow.
And then there are other flights, it doesn't even occur to me. Those are probably the ones when I have like, you know, a Disney movie playing or something. But
I think a lot of people have that fear of flying with various reasons. Mm-hmm. And for me, I've never been afraid. Here's what I've been afraid of: missing the flight. Yeah. I've been afraid of that. You know, in the past, I've been more stressed out getting to the gate. And once I'm actually on the plane, mm-hmm. I really relax.
Oh, he's over there. I know someone that is exactly the same. It is just so intense, the anxiety around not making the flight or getting to the gate in time. Or what do you think that's about? What is that fear?
I think multiple things, and thanks for that question. It's one, I don't like to mess up, because in mm-hmm. the past, kind of like we've talked mindset stuff, when I mess up, I am the mess up. When I make a mistake, I'm the mistake. I take it, it's a personal reflection on me. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm so much more relaxed when I get on the plane, is it's mm-hmm. all up to them.
Yeah.
Live or die, it's not in my hands.
Yep, I'm good.
You guys got it.
Part.
I've done my part. I'm in the seat. And one of my biggest fears flying is getting a middle seat. And then another fear is a really big person having the seat right next to me and spilling over into mine. So those are my biggest fears right now about flying.
Yeah, I think also that anxiety around missing the flight, maybe it's a little bit of fear of missing out, right? Or fear of waste.
There you hit it too, for both those, missing out and waste and scarcity for me.
Yeah.
So missing out, I don't want to miss something I've already planned on, which will
Oh
trigger all
yeah.
these other events.
Yep.
Waste, it's going to cost me more money. So I wait just because
money, time.
Just because I couldn't prepare a little bit better, it's going to cost me money and time.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah. That's so funny.
But I get so relaxed once I'm on the plane. It's because I know these pilots have been well trained.
Yeah.
And they really want to live.
That's what I tell myself every time. These guys want to live. I like size them up when I walk on. I'm like, that guy wants to live. I'm good. He wants to get home.
I love that.
That looks like a guy that wants to live.
Like, see, imagine you bring up this idea in me. I mean, I do all these crazy thought experiments. Imagine you got on a plane and you looked in the cockpit and the first pilot you looked at just looked super depressed.
Right.
I mean,
disheveled.
Like you never seen. And then you look over, you're praying when you look over at the next pilot, go, please let you be happy and excited about life. But they're just as depressed. I think.
What decision would you make at that point?
Oh my gosh, I think that would really scare me. That would probably be the first flight I'd ever been afraid on.
Yeah.
Or imagine they come on the intercom. This is your captain speaking. My wife just broke up with me, and I don't really feel like living, but I'm going to fly you there anyway.
Yeah. But we got this, guys. Right.
Oh my gosh. I think I would go, flight attendant, can you just ask them? Maybe we can just wait for another pilot. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get the sub, please? Can we tap in the sub?
Please. Yeah, that would be scary. If that would scare me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it would scare you because you have new information and input in your experience with depressed people is that they may not, maybe even yourself, they don't necessarily perform to their standard, right? So based on your experiences, you're more afraid of the situation.
Yeah.
Or
imagine in the midst of a flight, it's a little turbulence, and usually the captain comes on and goes, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, we're going through a pocket of rough air. We'll be rising to 35,000 feet, and we look forward to smooth space for you. Versus, oh my God, I don't know how we're going to get through this, but buckle in, people.
I think anybody that's watching this that's afraid of flying they're like, I can't take this anymore. My heart is just going to explode right now.
Just mute the video.
Yeah, just fast forward, guys. Hit that 30 seconds. Just fast forward. We'll give you the sign.
That's right.
If you like this, that's the sign. You can come back.
No, not yet. No, but again, it's amazing how relaxed I am flying. I'm more paying attention with more stress in my life driving.
Well, again, it's on you, right?
Because I know I could be at fault. Like if I see,
it's on you now.
Achoo. I've looked down to even just change a radio station and didn't realize I was in the other lane and someone beeped at me.
You know how silly it is when I first started driving at 16 years old. I remember asking my dad, how do you sneeze when you're driving? He's like, what do you mean? I go, I'm pretty sure you can't sneeze without closing your eyes. So let's say I had a fear of sneezing while I was driving because you would be taking your eyes off the road. Yeah. But obviously now we all feel comfortable sneezing, and that's because we're more comfortable with driving. And it's the same thing, I think, for diving. It's this notion of task loading. In the beginning, we have all these things that we're taking care of. And then suddenly with experience, practice, and intentional training, a lot of that's alleviated.
Well, I think you hit on two big things. One, I love the question and how your mind thinks. How do you sneeze while driving? Because I know you got to close your eyes for a second. How do you do that?
Yeah. How do you like try to open your eyes?
I love that you asked that question. and the other thing is, what I totally get is that skill overloading. It's like,
Yeah.
I remember playing golf with my dad when I just started long ago. And he was telling elbow in, loose
Oh,
grip,
yeah.
like 20 different instructions. And I'm going, well, what was that? I'm all in my head. And it's one of
Hmm.
the worst swings I've ever taken. And I'm going, please don't give me any more.
Yeah.
Now, if he
I'm
would have told me
overloaded.
one thing, hey, just
Yep.
keep your elbow in, swing
Hmm.
through. That probably would have worked for me. But it is task overloading. It's like when
Hmm.
you're a beginning driver and you have
Yep.
to do any second task.
Hmm.
That's tough.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Now people are eating full meals, doing their makeup, um,
Yeah,
making phone calls,
that's
listening to
right.
music, sending texts,
Hmm.
and they're doing that all at the same time.
That's right.
Or
Yep.
don't do that. That was me attempting to be funny, but I've seen it.
Yeah. They usually don't do it very well
No,
either when they try
no,
that.
no. No.
Yeah.
Well, Dejah, thank you for sharing these stories and getting me to laugh. And
Yeah, for sure. Same.
that
It's always nice to smile, isn't it?
it is. I enjoy that, and I love the stories. And I will remember the sneezing part. What do I do if I have to sneeze?
Yeah. How do you sneeze and drive at the same time?
Do you remember? Did he say anything to you?
Well, I'm sure my father did not dignify that question with an answer, knowing
Oh,
my dad. He was probably like, okay, she's just joking.
I wouldn't have been joking, because even now when I'm driving, I think I'm gonna have to close my eyes, straighten the wheel. Who's in front of? Achoo!
So, yep. Yeah. So to this day, I still don't know how people drive and sneeze at the same time. I basically just don't do it. I plug my nose and I
You've
just
never
pray it doesn't happen.
Oh my gosh, you've never sneezed while driving?
I'm just kidding.
I so wish that was a true story there.
Oh no, that'd be such an extreme case of,
I will
of
not
anxiety and
sneeze.
fear. This is
I'm
not happening. This is not going to happen. Nope, I refuse.
I'm not gonna sneeze.
Or trying to sneeze with your eyes open, which I'm pretty sure I spent the better half of 16 years old trying to do that.
Your
So
eyes might shoot out. I think that's why you gotta close your eyes.
I feel like that's an urban legend.
I think
I feel
it
like we
is
need to
too.
myth bust that one.
You've got me thinking about it. I think I've tried to keep
Go
my
ahead and
eyes
try.
open, and I
Give
failed.
it a shot today.
I,
Maybe you didn't try hard enough, Chris.
I, I think that's totally true. I did not try.
I believe in you. I think you can do this.
Thank you for the belief in me. That feels good.
Yeah.
That feels good.
Oh yeah.
All
Well,
right.
Chris,
Well,
this was awesome.
thank you, Dejah, and joining me in the Breaking Up with Fear series. And Dejah, if there's anyone out there watching, how would they get in touch with you? And what are you up to today, actually? What are you up to, and what would you want people to get you in
Oh,
touch with?
oh well, thanks, Chris. That's pretty fun. I'd like to say you're the 100th person that's ever asked me that, but you might be the first. So, if anybody ever wants to chat with me, they can email me at, well, Dejah's tough to spell, so let's go with hello at wearespeechless.com. And I have an organization called Speechless. We connect audiences with resources. So if you are having a challenge or a conference, or you want to blow away an audience, one of the best things that you could do is bring in an expert resource like you, Chris, or we have a huge community of resources, mostly in the business world, on a variety of topics, hundreds of different topics that we bring in. And like I said, we just make that match because we really believe that people like you, Chris, that are out there and spreading information is the way for improving our society. So that's what we do at Speechless. And like I said, if anybody wants to get in contact with me, even to say hi, talk about sneezing with your eyeballs open, you can reach me at hello@wearespeechless.com.
I love that. I love the hello versus information or a name.
Nobody likes info.
I
Say
know.
hi. You should, I mean, we could talk about the list I had originally before I picked hello, but hello was where it was at.
I like hello. It feels good. It feels warm.
Yeah. And
Hello.
it's me.
Yeah.
It's more me. It's more our style. So
Yeah. And I've
as
known
opposed to info.
Dejah is also an amazing speaker. as well, and storyteller. Yeah, so maybe she'll book herself in one of these gigs.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well, I'll end with this. I still remember, and I love the distinction. It's like, what are you telling yourself? Like, what's the sensation? You're curious about the sensation.
Right.
I remember when we were in Toastmasters together a long time ago, you said fear and excitement are very close.
Mm-hmm.
They actually almost look the same.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost your choice what you label it. You feel this energy,
Yeah.
and some people are labeling it fear, and then comes all the cascading thoughts with that and emotions and reactions with that, versus, oh, that's excitement. And I'm pumped up to do this, and I want to deliver at my best and be present, versus one track or the other. And that is really powerful.
Oh, I'm so glad you reminded me that I had wisdom all those years ago, because
You've always had wisdom.
yeah, so you're spot on. I know, I remember that conversation, in fact. Yeah, that's very cool. I still believe that.
Me too. I actually share it with other speakers now when I'm training speakers, and
that's good. Yeah.
It made a difference in my life, and that's one thing, and that's I guess
shift, right?
I think that's part of why I created this, Breaking Up with Fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that, I think some fears are valuable and can actually point us in a right direction. Other fears hold us back from achieving what we want to do. And sometimes it's just that tiny little insight like you gave me that can make a huge difference if you start putting it in practice. No, I don't have to go down this fear path. I can turn it into excitement instead.
Wow. Yeah. I'm so touched that you remember that, Chris.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that it made a difference for you.
It has. It even still does, because like you said, sometimes it comes back and I got to remind me, this is not fear. This is excitement.
Yeah. Why not call it excitement? Why not?
Why not?
What have you got to lose?
Absolutely. A little fear. You can lose your fear.
That's okay.
I know. And that, I've had moments where I was in lots of fear and I lost it. And oh my gosh, that contrast, that felt so good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh yeah. Well, thanks, Chris.
Well, thank you, Dejah. Thanks so much. And I'm going to stop our recording right